Hello, and welcome back to the Live Label Free podcast and to my Autistic Fear of Weight Gain series. In part 1 and part 2, we explored the complex relationship between autism and the fear of weight gain. We discovered that while many autistic people do fear weight gain, it's rarely about body image or wanting to be thin. Instead, it's about sensory sensitivities, unpredictability, identity, and finding safety in an overwhelming world. We looked at 8 specific reasons why weight gain can feel so threatening when autism and eating disorders intersect. Now, in this final part, I want to share something deeply personal, how I actually made peace with weight gain. Not through conventional body positivity or exposure therapy, but through a completely different perspective that changed everything for me. A perspective that I've found particularly resonates with the autistic mind. And just quickly before we dive in, if you've been enjoying this series, it would mean so much to me if you could take a second right now to leave a 5-star rating and positive review for the Live Label Free podcast on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you're listening. And if you're listening on YouTube, drop a comment below this video. It makes this podcast more of a conversation and obviously motivates me to keep creating free, valuable content like this. And now, without further ado, let's dive into part 3 of my autism and weight gain series. Welcome to the Live Label Free podcast, where we talk about autism, ADHD, eating disorders, existentialism, and everything in between. I'm your host, Livia. Now let's get into it. While my eating disorder never started as a means to lose weight, it became a convenient way to quote-unquote protect myself from the overwhelming experiences discussed in part 1 and part 2 of this series. Being able to maintain my childhood clothing size and having all my clothes fit loosely felt like the perfect solution. I thought I had found a way to keep my sensory world manageable and predictable. But the protection that my eating disorder provided me was all an illusion. Sure, I believed I was in control of my body, but was I really in control if I was a slave to fear? Are you really in control if your life is defined by strict rules? What about constantly being consumed by mental hunger? If we could really control our bodies, we wouldn't experience any of the side effects that accompany restriction. At the time of my eating disorder, none of my actions stemmed from love or compassion for myself or others. Every behavior was an act of avoidance. Avoidance of physical sensations. Avoidance of emotions. Avoidance of trusting myself and the universe. I believed that as long as I avoided the aspects of life I didn't want to be confronted with, I wouldn't have to. Just like many autistic people who develop eating disorders, the system of rules and restrictions that were once a safety box had turned into a prison. The moment you realize you're not actually in control is often a precursor to a new form of entrapment. Quasi-recovery. You know, the period of wanting to recover, of wanting a new identity, but being held back by all the fears that accompany weight gain. Quasi-recovery is so painful precisely because you know your state is a choice. Unlike immersion in the eating disorder, which is a full-on illusion, quasi-recovery comes with the awareness that you're choosing the illusion. What definitely wasn't a choice was when extreme hunger joined the chat. If you've read my memoir, Rainbow Girl, and I obviously expand on this in my book, How to Beat Extreme Hunger, this extreme hunger experience was nothing short of terrifying, especially from a weight gain perspective. As my body took over, I lost any sliver of control I thought I had left. For months on end, I craved and ate nothing but quote-unquote junk food. That is to say, all the foods I had labeled as forbidden. What often exacerbates the physical frustrations around extreme hunger, including, but not limited to, feeling like a human trash can and the sensory overload of being overly full, is the mental resistance due to already being weight restored. As is the case for most people in anorexia recovery, I wasn't hit by the extreme hunger bomb until I was at a quote-unquote healthy weight, according to BMI. Got questions about extreme hunger? Well, I've got answers. More specifically, I answer the top 10 most frequently asked questions about extreme hunger in my completely free Extreme Hunger Guide. Some of the questions I answer are: what to do if you experience extreme hunger when you're already weight restored? How to tell if it's mental hunger or emotional eating? What's the difference between extreme hunger and binge eating disorder? And of course, 7 other common questions. Grab your free guide at livelabelfree.com/extreme-hunger-guide. So that's livelabelfree, like the name of this podcast, .com/extreme-hunger-guide. And now, let's get back to today's episode. This fact of no longer being underweight led me to believe my body was broken and I was now, quote-unquote, swinging to the other side and developing binge eating disorder. So, after each feast, I told myself, today is the last time I binge. Every morning, I vowed to start fresh. But these plans crumbled as quickly as the cookies that I shoved into my mouth by the dozens, followed by jars of peanut butter, family-sized pies and cakes from the bakery, and everything else that had been off limits for years. The weight gain was inevitable. There was truly nothing I could do to stop it, as my previous restriction tactics no longer worked. The grief that accompanied no longer being able to restrict after anorexia only intensified the discomfort of my rapidly changing body. I felt utterly powerless, and the truth is, I was powerless against the laws of nature, just like we all are. While I didn't know it at the time, it was this very realization of being one with nature that allowed me to make peace with weight gain and ultimately accept this new, different, and yes, healthy body. To elaborate, I no longer view my body as mine. I no longer view this vessel that I inhabit as my possession. Instead, I understand that this body is an essential aspect of the universe at large, a coalescence of energy that is currently channeled as a human being. This shift in perspective addressed many of the fears discussed in Part 2. The sensory challenges, they're information my soul is processing through the filter of a body, not good or bad experiences. The unpredictability, it's in fact the only predictable aspect of being human. And the identity crisis? Well, the word crisis originally stems from the ancient Greek words krisis and krino, meaning to decide, and turning point. So, I literally decided to turn the weight gain into my turning point for creating a new identity, an identity that aligned with my true values. Here's what I want you to know. You don't have to go from hating your body to loving your body because your body isn't good or bad. Your body just is. Similar to how a tree is a tree and a stone is a stone. Just like we don't need to love the trees outside or love the stones in our yard, being at peace in your body doesn't mean you have to love it. True peace is being free from judgment. It means viewing the world with a sense of curiosity and gratitude rather than focusing on the limitations that come from labels. For autistic individuals who often think in black and white, this middle path of acceptance can be revolutionary. In conclusion, there's a beautiful irony in how I made peace with weight gain. The very traits that made recovery feel impossible, aka my autistic sensitivities and trying to make sense of a world that's pretty much nonsense, This ultimately became my path to freedom. By stepping out of the love your body narrative and into a more objective, nature-based perspective, I discovered a way to exist that doesn't require a constant battle with myself. For those still in the depths of their eating disorder, your fear of weight gain makes sense. Your need for safety is valid. And there's another way to find that safety. Your body isn't a problem to be solved or a project to be loved. It's simply part of the universe expressing itself through you, sensory challenges and all. And that concludes my Autistic Fear of Weight Gain series. Again, if you enjoyed these episodes, please take a minute to leave a positive rating and review for the Live Label Free podcast. And if you want to dive even deeper into the connection between autism and eating disorders, go grab a copy of my books. There's my memoir, Rainbow Girl, available in both English and Dutch, my cookbook, Nourishing Neurodiversity, and my Extreme Hunger book, How to Beat Extreme Hunger. Each book takes a neurodiversity-affirming approach to creating your unique version of food freedom so you can move forward in a way that works with your autistic mind rather than against it. And the best part is, you can now mix and match ebooks, paperbacks, or audiobooks to create your own discount book bundle at livelabelfreebooks.com. Just navigate to the bundles tab at livelabelfreebooks.com, select the books you want, and happy reading. I hope to chat with you through the page. Haha, see what I did there? And otherwise, I'll talk to you in the next episode. Bye-bye for now.
Baby, just one foot in front of the other, and you'll see